Good people turning up. So give people a chance. Right now, there's nobody calling in. Oh, there we go. So thank you, everybody, for coming in today. We'll get going at just a minute or so past the hour here. It's 1 o'clock, going to be 1 o'clock Alaska time. You'll be listening into a webinar today. So as people come in, you should see a Q&A function available to you, or the chat. So please do bring up your questions that you might have for Evelyn, our presenter today, through that, being aware that the appropriate questions on this particular project and this particular opportunity that we have here at the university, we'll make sure that those questions are brought forward to Evelyn after her presentation. So in about 2 minutes or so, we'll get going. And as more people come in, they'll be able to listen to Evelyn's presentation on the FAST program. And we'll be sharing this on the YouTube online. So if anybody has to step away during the hour, then don't worry, you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel within the next day or so, and you'll have access to the recording. Thanks, others coming in. So those listening in, coming in, don't forget that you can use the Q&A function that is provided as part of this webinar to be able to get in touch with and connect with Evelyn, our presenter today, if you've got any questions. And as we get going, I'll make a comment on that in the chat, and we'll be kicking off this FAST program project. Today's the first presentation on it, and I'll be passing to Evelyn shortly once we get going. So thank you, everybody, for calling in, coming in so far, and we'll be getting going shortly. So hang tight, and in a couple of minutes we'll get going. So thanks for coming. And just to clarify, for those calling in, you were all able to get the updated email with the login information. If that's correct, I'm glad that's the case, because we had some issues earlier. So, okay, here we go. We're getting some attendees streaming in. So give it another minute or so, and then we'll get kicked off with today's presentation and webinar as part of Alaska Startup Week. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today to this event on Monday, November the 14th, as part of Techstars Alaska Startup Week 2022. If you need to get in touch with the presenter, Evelyn, or myself with a question that you might have, please use the Q&A tool that's available as part of this webinar. And you'll be seeing and hearing from myself and Evelyn, and we'll make sure that questions are brought forward as we go through this next hour. So as I said, we are here as part of Alaska Startup Week, a week-long of events, both in person, hybrid, and online, to celebrate entrepreneurship and innovation across the state of Alaska, and also to highlight new programs and existing programs available to innovators and entrepreneurs in the region. So today you're hearing from myself and also Evelyn at Alaska Center ICE. We're the University of Alaska Fairbanks Center for Innovation, Commercialization and Entrepreneurship, and we're fortunate to be awarded this project that Evelyn will be talking about, the FAST program, available to innovators and entrepreneurs looking at small business innovation research and small business innovation technology transfer research opportunities from the federal government. I'd also like to recognize the Alaska Native lands upon which we reside. For those here in Fairbanks, Alaska, you are on the land of the Dene people of the lower Tanana River, and wherever you are, both across Alaska and across the United States, I hope you recognize today and every day the native lands and traditional lands upon which you work and reside and live. So today's event is about the FAST program. So hopefully you're here for the FAST program kickoff to learn more from Evelyn about this program and this opportunity that's available to those small business owners and those looking to develop a small business to go after federal funding opportunities. So I'm Peter Webley. I'm a program manager within Centre ICE. I'm also a research faculty member at the university in the unmanned vehicle program, and have also applied for as a business in my previous opportunities and internally to the university for SBIR funding opportunity, whether it be from the Air Force or the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over the opportunity for Evelyn to share her slide presentation and be able to present on the FAST program in general and what it actually is and what it provides to those listening and those businesses that are looking for these opportunities. And then we'll have some questions, Q&A from yourselves listening in as we go into the rest of the webinar today. So I'm going to stop sharing and pass the sharing privileges over to Evelyn to get going. So when you're ready, Evelyn, the floor is yours, as they say. Back over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon, everyone. As Peter mentioned, my name is Evelyn Jacome, and I work with Peter at Alaska Centre ICE. I am the Alaska FAST Program Director, and you will learn in a little bit what is Alaska FAST. And first of all, I want to make sure that we all understand what is non-dilutive funding. And non-dilutive funding is funding that is available for us, small businesses, that you don't have to give up equity or pay back. An example of non-dilutive funding is federal grants like the SBIR, STTR, or if you were to participate in a pitch competition and you will get an award, that is also a type of non-dilutive funding. What are we going to be learning and talking about today? Well, what is Alaska FAST and what are the program and services that we offer through this program? We're going to be talking about what are the SBIR and STTR programs. We are going to learn also when to start planning to apply for this type of funding and how to approach and best practices for an SBIR and STTR proposal. And finally, what does really SBIR, STTR can lead to? What are the opportunities after you get this type of funding? So a couple of items in the agenda today, and feel free to make any questions. I like all of my workshops to be very engaging. I do see a familiar name, so thank you for joining me again. And let's start. So SBIR, STTR, they are acronyms, and if you were to say them out loud all the time, you probably take you more than 2 minutes, but SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research, and STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer Research. What are these programs? They are federal grants that are available through federal agencies. So every year, Congress approves $4 billion for this type of funding. And the goal of this type of funding is for advanced technology and innovation in the United States, but also support small businesses. This type of program is very unique. It's the only program out there that can help you access, as a small business, federal grants, contracts, and funding. So the most important goal that I would like to highlight today is that the main goal is to foster technology transfer from R&D institutions, so for example, a university, a national laboratory, and translate it to a commercialization path through a small business, an innovator, or entrepreneur. Another important goal that I want to emphasize really is that this type of funding are very much tailored and focused to support small businesses. So if you are a small business and you are underrepresented, serving a rural area, definitely for you. So make sure to check them out. And what are the requirements, right? There are some requirements. You for sure need to be a for-profit entity. So if you are a nonprofit or if you are a research institution by yourself, you can't access this type of funding. You need to have registered your business, an LLC, or collaborate with a small business owner to access this type of funding. Also, this business needs to be located within the United States, and all of the work performed in this type of grants need to be executed also within the United States. Another important requirement, you can't have more than 500 employees. Fun fact, that is actually the definition of a small business. So I know some of us here are probably a team of 2 or 5, a very small team. So also, you don't need to have a number of employees to apply to this type of funding. So it's very interesting how this opportunity really gives you an avenue to develop your idea or your innovation. And finally, no more than 50% of the business can be owned by someone that is not a U.S. citizen. So something to keep in mind. So we understand what SBIR is. We talked about what STTR are, and what are the goals of this program. So under this program, there are also all the federal agencies that manage this funding. So you have here a list of all the different agencies that I'm gonna explain really quickly what is the focus areas. But as you would imagine, all of these federal agencies have a focus area and topics and specifically interesting funding areas and topics they want to pursue in a small business, innovation and technology aspect. And also they are looking to solve problems within their own federal agency challenges to advance their goals. So you have the bigger SBIR, STTR goal funding, but then you also have the agencies goals that you need to learn about, understand before you apply for an SBIR. So almost all of the agencies participate in the SBIR, STTR program. As you would imagine, all agencies serve for different purposes. And I want to mention the biggest chunk of funding that gets from this type of program actually is under the Department of Defense. So out of the $4 billion, more than half goes to DoD. So I always recommend people to, when they're looking at SBIR, STTR, although they're not addressing something directly DoD potentially, but they have different layers of challenges and opportunities and topics that you can address. And under the Department of Defense, you have the Army, you have the Air Force, and you have the Navy. So all of this DoD stakeholders actually have challenges that range from energy to warfighter resilience to healthcare. So it really is very broad, and they do have the biggest amount of funding from the $4 billion. So definitely open your mind about DoD. Other really cool federal agencies, you have the USDA. They address food and agriculture topics and challenges. USDA is actually looking to fund small businesses that are in remote rural areas like in Alaska. So I recommend everyone to also think about a little bit about what is a challenge that we have here in Alaska that could be addressed through USDA funding. It could be food security, it could be efficiency of like food supply systems, integration of energy, renewable energy to food supply systems. I mean, there is a range of topics that could go under this category. NIST, which is the National Institute for Standards of Technology. Interestingly enough, they, as it says there, they come up with ways of drafting a standard, a template of the technologies that are upcoming. So if you have something that is very cutting edge on that specific industry and scope, check it out. It's really interesting. They actually release topics every year. They don't have different timelines, but when they do, it's a really good agency to just have in mind. You could fall under one of the categories of interest. So a really good SBIR, STTR program. You have the NOAA, the National Oceans and Atmospheres Federal Agency. Obviously, their biggest topic is under the ocean protection, monitoring, and mitigation. But under their scope, it fits a lot of climate resiliency, climate change, addressing data technology. So if you are very close to one of those topics or like bringing up some innovative challenges that you want to address with your business, NOAA might be a good option for you. I already talked about DoD, but it's very much emphasizing warfighting topics and support, but the complexity of these entities under the DoD is that they're very big. They very much, they have bases all over the country. So they do have a lot of challenges that could be supported and addressed by a small business. Another really interesting agency, and I think here in Alaska, there's a lot of opportunity as well, is the Department of Education. They also have yearly topics. So they release a topic every year, and it really addresses all things education, but one of the biggest focus is STEM. So if you were to have a startup or an idea to bring equity to education throughout the entire state in a STEM or in any of the science fields, this could be a really good opportunity. A lot of the topics could be developing service, a platform, and a specific product, an application. I mean, I've seen a lot of really good, interesting, and really fun type of ideas coming out of SBIR, STTR from the Department of Education. Another important agency, very much relevant to Alaska, is the Department of Energy. I'll probably say this, a lot of us are looking to transition to more renewable energies, especially here in Alaska. So if you remotely have an idea or an innovation that falls under this category, definitely look into the DOE. They just released actually 2 weeks ago their topics for phase 1 on 2023. So I'm gonna kind of share with you what are those topics here in a little bit. But DOE is a really good program as well, very much emphasized in rural serving states. So we obviously fit under that category. We have the NIH, the National Institute of Health, all things healthcare, bringing any type of services, novel technology for medicine, to obviously the state and the country. So if you are a researcher or you are very passionate about addressing a healthcare issue, specifically here in Alaska, I am very certain that you will find a good topic that could fit your idea. The Department of Homeland Security, another interesting agency. They also only have yearly topics, but if you are addressing challenges in border protection, infrastructure, perimeters, which it's very important here for Alaska, definitely, a very good opportunity to check out this interesting agency. Related to this type of agency, you have the Department of Transportation, and if you're addressing, then again, challenges or innovations in like highways, railways, transportation in itself, which is very critical for Alaska as well. We are in a very remote state, and it takes a lot of resources. It's very costly to take us from one place to another. So that could be a really good, interesting challenge to address as a small business. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, falls very similar categories of DOE and NOAA, but actually more than addressing all things environment and green technology. They also have a lot of topics that are related to resilience, climate resiliency, application of technologies in different areas that are related to the environment. So it's a little bit more broad, but could bring opportunities as well for you as a small business. NASA, you can imagine anything that supports space exploration and astronaut technology. Also thinking about like really how are humans gonna live long term in outside of the planet. This is also a very creative agency, I think, from a small business perspective. There are some technologies that we're developing potentially here to address challenges in Alaska, but could be, pivot to, thinking really outside of the planet. We are very far away from everyone else. And, that could present a lot of technology development opportunities for entrepreneurs. And last but not least, and actually it's one of my favorite agencies, the National Science Foundation. They have really probably the broadest topics, focus areas within all the agencies. They focus on engineering innovations, they focus on AI, they focus on healthcare, They focus on climate. I mean, in a lot of different ways, you could be a really good candidate for an SBIR STTR program for the NSF. And actually, they do drug discovery. So if you are innovating in a specific drug innovation, you could apply for clinical trials with the NSF, which is very different because NIH usually is the one agency that spends a lot of resources in that specifically, but the NSF also is an option. They do have year-round open pitch projects, so you don't have to send a full SBIR STTR proposal to the NSF. You can send a one-page pitch document, and they will tell you, hey, you're a really good fit for us. Please go to your next step and submit a proposal. What they do have is proposal submission windows. So if you were to send the project pitch, be welcomed in the program, you'll have to wait until the next window is open. They have usually very, I'll say, very entrepreneur friendly windows. It's during the summer, at the end of the winter, at the beginning of the year. So you wouldn't be waiting long until that window is open. So that's pretty awesome from the NSF. So after you learn about what SBIR is, what federal agencies are looking for, now I'm going to tell you about what are the phases of an SBIR. There are a couple of few phases, and the first one is phase 0. And that is when you are in a very early stage, probably if you've never heard about SBIR before and you're joining today to learn about it, you are pretty much in this stage. You are aware of what SBIR programming is. You are very interested in submitting a proposal, but you need resources. So for phase 0, there are a couple of options for you to use and navigate. You can find a micro assistant program. And actually here in Alaska, the SBDC offers phase 0 trend grants. So I know that maybe one of you or two of you here has received recently a phase 0 grant from Alaska SBDC. And this grant is about $10,000 and will help you to develop a proposal. So you will get this funding in order to either hire a grant writer or to block time out of your calendar. If you have a full-time job and you don't want to affect your livelihood because it takes a lot of time to apply for this type of funding, in order for you to support you through that grant development process. So that's phase 0. There's also FAST, Alaska FAST, and very new program, and I'm going to talk to you about that here in a little bit, but you also will be reaching out to me, Alaska FAST, here at Center ICE to get support in order to submit a successful proposal. So after you've done all that in phase 0, you'll be looking at a phase 1, which is an official SBIR STTR phase 1 grant funding. And in phase 1, you're essentially validating the feasibility of your innovation, of your idea. So you're developing the concept. The amount of funding that you will be receiving in a phase 1 is from $75,000 to $275,000. And the timeline to execute the project is between 3 to 12 months. So in this time, you will be most likely only working on the development and of the concept, on the R&D, the research and development of the feasibility of making this idea happen. Can I make this happen? And very honestly, because it's such a competitive program, the success rate for a phase 1 is only 15%. But I would like to mention that in most of the cases, once you submit a phase 1, you will get feedback from the program manager, from the agency, and you are able to resubmit. So at the beginning, for the first time, you could apply, and there's a chance you might not get it. But when you apply again, you will be in a better position to apply to get that phase 1 that you're looking for. After you receive a phase 1, you will apply for a phase 2. And that is a prototype, right? Like you've proven that your research and development and your idea are feasible. You have the strong concept. Now you need funding to make a prototype, to have a minimal viable product to show to your customers, to improve it, to get feedback, and who knows, potentially start having some sales, right? And in this phase 2, the amount of funding that you will receive is $500,000 to up to $1.5 million. The timeline of this project is actually 2 years. You could take less time to execute the award, but the maximum amount that you need to spend this funds are 24 months. So very likely after you submit a phase 1, it's very likely you'll get a phase 2, right? There's a 45% success rate of submission. The federal agencies, and actually once you go developing that program manager relationship, they will encourage you to apply. You will probably be working really, really hard to make sure you get a phase 2, and they want to fund it really bad. So that's kind of why the success rate goes up significantly. You could apply actually for several phase 2s and also phase 1s, given the complexity of your project. An example of this could be you want to prototype a product that needs different elements. One element is data processing, one element is AI, one element is renewable energy. I mean, there are different things that you could implement in your project that could take a couple of phase 1s or could take a couple of phase 2s. So you will just probably like to continue to developing, de-risking that prototype and making sure that you are getting to a phase 3, which is commercialization, right? Like you made it, you have your product, you make sure to bring your idea to life. And a phase 3 is actually not funded by an SBIR or an STTR program or agency, but a phase 3 is where you're ready to maybe get a government contract. So you're working with the DoD and they really like your product, they'll probably buy it from you. And that's their goal, right? Like their goal is to contract you as a small business to address their challenges. And if you are not getting a contract with the federal agency to commercialize your technology in a phase 3, you most likely are going to find an investor that really likes your idea. You have proven that you're really good at managing capital, you've developed your idea, you have a strong prototype, and that makes you just a better candidate and entrepreneur in itself. And you most likely be successful as well raising funds. So these are the phases. So I hope this is very clear. I know when I learned about SBIR, STTRs, I wasn't sure what was a phase 1, what was a phase 2, but the basic stuff is you need to prove that you can bring your idea to life. The feasibility is the phase 1, and phase 2 is product development, so developing that prototype. So what are the open topics, right? Evelyn told me about what is SBIR. I understand really well what the federal agencies want or maybe looking for. I know what the phases are. So I'm ready. Well, I hope everyone here is ready. So you're ready. Okay, well, what are the topics for 2023? Like I mentioned earlier, the DoD has annual SBIR topics out there, so you can go online and check them out. I'm going to walk you, if we have time, here in a little bit through how can you access the topics and look at them. In each agency, the NSF also has open solicitations. So if you go to the SBIR NSF website, you'll find all of their open topics. The biggest caveat with the NSF really is that they just want something that is very risky and novel. So if you fall under that category, if you're in, and when I say novel, is not necessarily the most like breathtaking innovation of the century, but it has to be maybe ways that you're implementing technology that has not been used before, or addressing a very pressing challenge that you are bringing innovation to. So that's one of the things with the NSF. And the DOE, the Department of Energy, their phase 1 was just released 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to share with you potential topics here because I want to make sure that we understand the language that the federal agencies use and sort of what are the focus areas. So an example of one of these topics is digital twin capabilities for science, network, and infrastructure. So sounds, well, digital twins, infrastructure, network, data. Are you under that category? Are you a business innovating? And could you be a good candidate, right? Usually when you see a topic like this, you'll click there and you'll read the entire request for proposals. And then you will make an assessment and say, it sounds like I am a good candidate. Maybe you are not 100% sure, which is fine. But you could always reach out to the program manager. You can reach out to Alaska Fast, and we can make that decision together. Another quick topic here, the last one that I think is very applicable for a lot of the small businesses, which is advanced fossil energy and carbon management technology research. So if you are addressing anything under the scope of fossil energy or carbon management, so it's carbon offset, or just management in itself, or generating data, I think this could be a really good topic for you. So a few examples there. And after we have talked a little bit about SBIR, what it is, you are probably thinking, okay, this is great. It's free money, I'll get it funded, but why would I pursue one? What I said at the beginning, this is non-dilutive, so you don't have to pay it back. Also, your intellectual property, whatever IP that you get out of that research is actually exclusively yours. The government will probably make draft an agreement to just have the data, but the rest is really, really yours. So you're not giving up anything for it. These are risk-free dollars. What does this mean? It means that probably the only thing you're, if you're successful in this type of funding, you're like not giving up anything else. Probably a few resources, your time and your availability, but with the type of funding that we have available, this is really a possible path for you to explore. Another very much important thing to emphasize is that once you complete an SBIR, STTR phase 2, you could get government contracting. And that it's huge for a small business. I mean, there are contracts that range from $100 million to $1 million that could change really the path of the small business. So you just, like, the only thing I'm trying to say is you just never know what kind of SBIR, STTR fund, funding would take you. I know that significantly all entrepreneurs are way better off pursuing an SBIR, STTR than not, because you really need to have a strong business plan. You need to have a really good understanding of what your idea and your research and development needs are, and also how you're going to commercialize that technology. So when you spend a lot of time thinking and developing and strategizing for an SBIR, STTR, you are ready for not only non-dilutive funding in an SBIR, STTR perspective, but also ready for potential angel funding. And you are 10 steps ahead of anyone else in the entrepreneurial path if you decide to pursue an SBIR. Finally, something important I'd like to mention why it's important to pursue SBIR and STTR. It's because you are not, apart from not paying this grant back, you are also like not risking too much from your own capital. Like you don't have to, sell your car, or you don't have to, like stop working. But having said that, SBIR and STTR funding is very time consuming. It's a huge commitment. And once you get approved for a phase 1 or a phase 2, you won't receive the funds in the next 24 hours. Usually it takes about 6 months to a year. So you really need to have a conscious plan that a SBIR, STTR is not a business plan. You're not just working to get SBIR, STTR money. No, like it's the opposite. SBIR, STTR money is for you to like help you through that valley of death or help you through the next milestone in your business, but it is not going to be your main source of capital or funding as an entrepreneur. So keep that in mind, but it's a really good program. So you might be ready. You might be, whoa, I understand all of that. or you could be saying, I have no idea what SBIR is at this point still. So where do we start? And first, I suggest contact Alaska Fast, which you don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to tell you here in 5 seconds. Connect with me, connect with Alaska Fast, and I'll walk you through the process of where to start. But most importantly, determine what is your business strategy and what your resources are. If you are pursuing funding, just in general, it could be non-dilutive, it could be from venture capitalists, it could be from a loan or a bank. Just understand, why do you need this money? Like, how is that going to support you through the growth of your business or as an entrepreneur? So, and if that's what you're looking for, how you're going to make that happen? How is that going to take you to a milestone? It's going to happen in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I mean, really understand what the business strategy is. If it's a team of 1 person, a team of 2 people, then do you have the bandwidth? Who is going to be developing your sales channels while you're busy applying for an SBIR, STTR? Really mindful decisions that I encourage, and we can also talk about it on a one-on-one appointment here at Alaska Fast. But these are stuff that I really try to emphasize with folks that are, for the first time, learning about SBIRs and STTRs. It is a business decision. And then you probably heard all the federal agencies and thinking, oh, I could be a good fit for the NSF and the DoD. Oh, I could maybe look into the DOE and the EPA. So I would say that's awesome. Like, but let's narrow your focus, right? This is all about taking you to that big next step of commercializing your technology, scaling up your startup, and being like an awesome businessman or woman, or entrepreneur. And who is your customer segment, right? Are your customer segments other businesses that are in the renewable energy field? Are your customer segments already the Department of Defense? Are you trying to serve them? And that's how you're going to grow it as a business person. And your ultimate goal is federal contracting. So really a couple of things to keep in mind. And that's how questions that help you narrowing your focus. So that's where I would start as well. And then the easiest thing to do, sign up for agency updates. And every agency, and actually the Small Business Administration that manages the SBIR, STTR programs, they have a newsletter. This is for free. You just have to go on the website, put your email, and you'll get weekly and monthly newsletters. You can make the decision yourself. But the easiest thing is that you get an email, you read about what the agencies are looking for, and you learn a little bit more. You get used to how they reference the topics, you get used to their language. I mean, it is really also a barrier and a bit of a challenge to understand how agencies work. And we're finally here. What is Alaska Fast? And Alaska Fast is a federal and state technology partnership program. It's funded by the Small Business Administration, and it's a free program that was created to increase the number of SBIR, STTRs in Alaska, especially if you are a woman and underrepresented small business and are rural or serving rural issues. It's a brand new program, so we're very excited to have this program kick off right now here at Startup Weekend with you. And what do we offer, right? What is Evelyn and Alaska Fast going to help me do for applying for an SBIR and STTR? And there's a couple of things that we offer. We help you with agency and topic navigation. We will sit down with you to train you to write a successful proposal. I can do reviews, I can do guidance. I won't help you write the proposal. You have to do that yourself, but I will be able to give you feedback. We will have a lot of workshops, so definitely leave your email so I can reach out to you for upcoming workshops, and we're going to have an accelerator. And most importantly, our biggest collaboration will be next summer with the Trend Phase 0, which I mentioned earlier, which is the $10,000 to get grant proposal funding earliest stage with the Alaska SBDC. So a couple of things that the Alaska Fast program will be doing. And just really quickly, you might be thinking, okay, so how has the SBA, SBIR, STTR program has helped Alaska? And actually, we have success stories and very interesting startups that are still running, and they have been awardees of the program. So the first one I like to mention is Aquaga, and they are addressing a very serious challenge and issue throughout the country. They are developing units of to destroy PFAS. This actually innovation, and I think Peter knows a little bit more about it than myself. This innovation was actually stemmed from technology from the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and is now and also received an SBIR award from the EPA. So really good story, really urgent issue that was addressed through the implementation of this technology. And they are still thriving. So please definitely check them out. Another important success story here in Alaska that has received an SBIR STTR award is Triveris. They actually received an SBIR from the Navy, and we're successful after that completion of the project in receiving a Navy contract. So that really propelled them to the big step of like scaling up and having really success as a small business. Their technology emphasizes in high efficiency cleaning and recovery. Technology in deck areas, in an airport, on in a Navy ship. So very important things, challenges, for example, like that address Navy needs. So these are some really good examples. So if you're familiar with Triveris or Aquaga, please let us know how you engage with them. And another important programs I would like to highlight as Alaska Fast, and something that you could look into yourself in order to be successful in a process of SBIR, STTR proposal development. The first one is the University of Alaska Fairbanks National Science Foundation ICOR program. And this is actually the National Science Foundation way of saying, we want to fund an SBIR, STTR, but if you please go back 20 steps before and just focus and emphasize in customer discovery. So the NSF ICOR program is a customer discovery program where you will learn the skills and interview your customers, and you can get a stipend of $4,500. After you do that, and actually Peter is the lead for NSF ICOR program, you could apply for the National Foundation program. And there's also a stipend to continue doing customer discovery that goes up to $50,000. So if you think you might be a good fit for NSF, I really, really hope you look into NSF ICOR and the national program, and we could make that happen all through Center ICE. But after you do those two programs, your success of receiving an SBIR, STTR award goes by 70%. So the NSF is saying you de-risk your technology so much through customer discovery before applying for an SBIR that I really, really want to fund your SBIR phase 1. So never underestimate the value of customer discovery. And if you're not a good option for NSF, regardless, spend a lot of time doing the National Science Foundation programming just in itself. You will be also significantly better off, and you will know better your customers than if you didn't do this type of programming. Another important program that we manage here at Center ICE, and I would like to make sure we collaborate and emphasize, is the Alaska Center ICE Seed Fund. The Seed Fund sponsors projects that are performed with university students, faculty, staff, and stakeholders, and we fund projects up to $25,000. If you are a small business and want to do research and need help, you could access this funding if you find a student, a faculty member, or a university stakeholder to perform the project. So it is open throughout the year, and actually I work with that program as well. So you are good, if you think you're a good fit, if you're faculty, student, staff, 100% reach out to me. But if you're a small business that want to do research through the university, also let us know because we can make it work. The other program, so many programs, it's great. The other program that we have is the Center ICE, the Students to Startups. And also Peter is the lead for Students to Startup. And this program is every summer, you will get assigned an intern, which is most likely student here at the University of Alaska. And you can have a project that you work with them through the summer. So we have very successful pairings the last couple of summers, also interns that have stayed with a startup and continue working with them. But if, let's say, for example, if you're interested in SBIR, STTRs, you can have an intern that can help you drafting a proposal. It might be a very skilled intern, we'll have to find the right fit, but it could be a good way of pursuing an SBIR, STTR with a little bit of extra support. It never hurts. So that's an example I want to share. And as I mentioned earlier, the Alaska SBDC Trend Zero program, it's also every summer. So wait for the 2023 announcement. And that would be up to $10,000 to get you resources or maybe a grant writing stakeholder to support you for your SBIR STTR programming. We just, well, not just, but a couple of months ago, the awardees were just announced, and I think some of you guys are here, so congratulations. And finally, if you are very serious about SBIR and you, after joining this webinar, you've decided that is your right business strategy, I will suggest you come with me to the Tech Connect conference in DC. It is hosted by all the federal agencies that have the SBIR STTR programs. And then you will have workshops. You will be able to meet the real program manager, the NSF program manager of the topic. You can sit down with them, make some questions, tell them about your technology, and really just jump in this SBIR STTR world that I've been very lucky to be part of for the last the last year. And now able to support you through Alaska Fast and this type of programming. So I'm wrapping up here so we can have time for questions, but please join us in our next event. We're going to have a webinar on the SBIR DOE Phase 1 announcement for topics for 2023. So that's going to be December 13 via Zoom at noon. We are going to have monthly SBIR meetings that will be very similarly structured to what we talked about today. What is SBIR? And this is called SBIR 101. So if you know of an innovator or entrepreneur that should be aware of this programming, it could be your mom, your dad, your best friend, anyone, please let them know. The next SBIR 101 will be January 17th at noon. And we are also launching the SBIR Technology Founder Network. And this is actually a very unique network and mentor program. And this is previous awardees coming and chatting about what was their SBIR journey like, and also, and I hope, their technology. So should be very, very entrepreneurial tailored. It's not going to be me talking about SBIR. It should be sharing what they went through, sharing what is the technology like, and also getting to know you better. So this is going to be a quarterly meeting. And just to finalize, we have the NSF ICRO program coming in March, so 2023. So please sign up. Customer discovery is always great to have you right after the NSF ICRO program. We're going to be having the SBIR Accelerator in April. So you're going to be learning everything that you need to submit a proposal for SBIR STTR. And finally, the Alaska Trend program from the SBDC summer of 2023. So I hope I didn't went over time, but this is my email. Please send me an email. I'd like to talk to you, even if it's about something or other resources that we can offer you at Centrice. But this is my email. This is our website, and I'm not going anywhere. And if you are based out of Fairbanks, you can always come visit us at the Center ICE office at the University of Alaska. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Evelyn. So there's actually one question that came up from Susan, which I could have answered, but I'd like to have a discussion with you on this is, do you have to have received a phase 1 to apply for a phase 2? And the answer is yes and no. It's a very interesting one because there are agencies where there's something called direct to phase 2, where you can apply for the phase 2 opportunity for that's available. Department of Defense focused ones often do this. But what you've got to do as part of that is really show the evidence that you would have developed under phase 1, but you're going straight to the funding amount that's in a phase 2. So you're going in for the $1 million research project over 2 years, 500,000 a year, but you would have done your phase 1 work, your stakeholder discovery, your customer discovery. Sort of, you've got to show that evidence that you are ready for that research project to go to direct to phase 2. But then there are other agencies where to receive a phase 2, for that particular project, you've gone through the phase 1 step, because there isn't a direct to phase 2, and they will state it is a direct to phase 2, which means you don't need to receive phase 1 funding. But other agencies, when you see the phase 2 opportunity, it will say in the notice of intent, the letter of intent, whatever the form, request for proposals, it will state the requirements and the eligibility. And therefore, if you see it and it says you need to have received a phase 1 award from this agency, you wouldn't be able to apply for that phase 2 opportunity. So in answer to your question, Susan, it depends. But often the opportunity is really emphasized in the call for opportunities. And then the other thing I would highlight, and Evelyn did it multiple times, is if you see an opportunity, you can approach Evelyn at the FAST program, but also talk to the program manager, talk to the person who is the contact for the program, because you will find out a lot of information that you're not going to get from an online website, from a printed document, and they will be able to answer those type of questions that we've raised here. So hopefully that answers that question. And then I guess my question to you, Evelyn, is let's say we've got somebody here today or listening in, and they've got a new idea and they see an opportunity. They think that, let's say, Department of Energy is the ideal funding, but they don't have all the members of the team. How might the FAST program help them build their team for the greatest chance of success? How could the FAST program help them build partners to then be able to go after an opportunity?
Thank you, Peter. And this is in general for, I think, the challenge for most entrepreneurs that are like super early stage. And it's, you probably don't have the funding or the resources to hire a data scientist full time to help you develop a proposal. You don't have to have anyone hired at the time of submitting your proposal. You need to have an agreement and saying, I have identified, for example, Peter Webley is the expert at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and he will be doing the R&D for my technology. And that's what us at Center ICE and the University of Alaska, and what we hope to bring to the small businesses is networking opportunities and research opportunities and skills opportunities. So if you learn today that Alaska Center ICE actually is the door for me to access those resources through the university, and I want to talk to someone or an expert research in data science or data processing, or I need to find a biologist, a postdoc, or someone for them to do the testing, that could be a networking opportunity that we could bring to you. And that's kind of what we're hoping also to start developing, is like better opportunities for small businesses to access university resources and researchers or students. So in itself, going back to the Students to Startups program, that could be something that could be also a student that is a postdoc or a PhD doctor that you want to fine, and then they can be your interns for the summer, and then you can develop a relationship and then apply for an SBIR, STTR. So, I mean, there are very different avenues and ways to go about submitting a phase one proposal, but you need to have a strong idea of what kind of researcher you need and what are your, obviously, R&D needs.
Exactly. And I think I also see some others on here that there are other programs of the early stage development of business ideas that might be ready for SBIR. Our collaborators and colleagues down at University of Alaska Anchorage have the Upstart Alpha Accelerator and the Upstart Alpha Intern. So again, depending on we'll call about where you are on your journey. The FAST team, led by Evelyn here, is really to help you on your journey to be successful in gaining these federal awards. Alaska is an opportunity and a state where we've not had many, but we have the entrepreneurs and the innovators with the projects that could be really successful in this funding opportunity that's available. As you saw, Evelyn, in extreme detail, but fantastic detail, went down every single agency. This is federal agency-wide. This is a real focus on within the federal government. Even the National Science Foundation just recently formed a new directorate called Technology Innovations and Partnerships, where their SBIR and STTR program is. Evelyn highlighted the Department of Defense. They actually also focus on what's called dual use capabilities, not only those that are a benefit for our military establishments for their missions needs, but also something that can be spinning out beyond the need that has been highlighted for our Department of Defense organizations, but also can become a commercial product that can then actually bring in additional revenue to that company. And that's a big aspect of what's going on there. But really, if you're interested in the SBIR funding opportunities, the FAST program is here to help. I think that's the clear focus that Evelyn's highlighted here, and it's a part of the federal space that I think we as a state could really grow into, and that FAST is here to be that mechanism, whether it's networking, training, understanding how to write a grant to the NIH, understanding how to write a grant to the Department of Energy. Very different agencies, very different formats. Learning that process, so you, as you graduate out of the FAST program, can be more effective and efficient and resilient in applying for grants. So you increase your own percentage of success and become more skilled at pursuing these opportunities.
I agree. And actually, Peter, I just want to mention really quickly, the barrier to apply for your first proposal, phase one, that's the highest barrier you're ever going to encounter through this process. And then after you overcome that, you can access this funding forever. I mean, it is open for entrepreneurs. So if you were to want to continue developing your R&D, like implementing, or you have new ideas, I mean, this is the highest barrier. It's like, know how to apply. And once after you do it and you're successful, you could do this in your sleep. You could do it multiple times, and it can really make a difference.
Exactly. And I think there are businesses and university individuals that have been successful in awarding these and also being collaborators. So the other aspect of this is to think, oh, I might be a good fit for the National Science Foundation, is don't think you're applying for these alone. If you're a sole entrepreneur or a small team, think about what the state has to offer to help support that, whether it's finding a grant writer, whether it's finding some physical laboratory space to do testing of a system, whether it's an external location to do some testing. Think what could be built as part of your team to go after these opportunities, because together we can have a greater success for all the businesses going after these opportunities, whether it's businesses partnering together, obviously making sure that both of them are qualified for the SBIR eligibility, or partnering with the university, or moving university research out into the commercial world. Whatever the aspects are, it's about us together, working to move this forwards so we can get more of the businesses that are represented here by the attendees online and those listening afterwards, to get more of these SBIR, STTR opportunities into the state. And that's really what the focus of FAST is to allow those that don't traditionally get access to these opportunities the chance to do it. And Evelyn highlighted at the beginning what the mission is of the FAST program that we got awarded here, and how we can help everybody listening. So we have about 3 minutes to go to the top of the hour. So if anybody else has any questions to Evelyn as the FAST program director, don't forget that this will be available online afterwards. So if you weren't able to grab all of the notes and all of the information that Evelyn shared, then we will have this on our YouTube channel. We do have everyone's contact information that signed up to the webinar. So we'll be able to share follow-on information about the dates and the webinar times for the information that Evelyn's got on this final slide. For those that were listening in on the phone, and you weren't able to see the slides, then please do just go to our YouTube channel, and probably by tomorrow you'll be able to see this recording in our Techstars Startup Week playlist, and you'll be able to watch and see the slides that Evelyn has been talking about. So Evelyn, if you could give me back the share privileges, I'll wrap up with a final couple of slides for the Startup Week. So thank you, Evelyn, for your time today and presenting on the SBIR sort of 100, I guess it probably was at the beginning, and then the FAST program. But I want to remind everybody that this is one part of Techstars Startup Week Alaska. So what's coming next? Well, there's a plethora of events across the week. You can see here on Monday the highlighted program, an event you've just listened to today. We've got events going in person, hybrid, and virtual across the state. You can see from Juneau, Anchorage, Seward. We've had events earlier today from Cordova, and there's others across the state. So if you're interested in other events, please do sign up and be able to listen in. And then if anybody is able to make a social get-together on Friday afternoon in Fairbanks between 4 and 6, we'll have a social get-together at the venue in downtown Fairbanks. So if anybody would like to attend and wants to know more about that event, please do send me an email, pwwebley@alaska.edu, and we'll provide you with a code to be able to get a thank you drink from the some of the startup team members. We have some sponsors here that are supporting this week, and you can see the logos for them there, everything from Alaska EPSCoR, Launch Alaska, Alaska Venture Management, GCI, and others that have provided financial support across the state to be able to put on these events that you're seeing in virtual and in person, as well as hybrid. So thank you, everybody, for your time today. It's just gone the top of the hour Alaska time. This is Alaska Startup Week, provided through Techstars. And we have events going through until Friday, and some events in Anchorage will be occurring at the weekend coming up. So take a look at the website. Keep open for an opportunity that you might think, because you don't know what you don't know until you see it. And this FAST opportunity is there for you. So please do get in touch. And I thank you all for your time, and have a good rest of the week.